Hello everyone, welcome back to Total Football Talk. So we're going to have a quick look at the latest news coming out of Manchester United, and we'll look at the headlines. And some of these headlines are: the club are looking to sell the naming rights to Old Trafford. And yeah, this news is kind of starting to filter through now. Um, what do you think? Do you think it's a good idea? It's a way to raise funds, but are we taking away from the heritage and the culture and the identity of what Manchester United are? We do actually sell these naming rights. But it is coming out in the Express that your Jim Radcliffe would prefer also to have a new stadium build. They're looking at a ground which is beside Old Trafford. It's owned by a shipping company, and they're looking the total investment that's going to be required to make this new ground is going to come in and around kind of 2 to 3 million. I mean, where do we sit with that? Are you keep Old Trafford and rebuild it, or are you sell? Find a way to sell it, make use of it. Knock it down and completely revamp a new stadium. I'm kind of more in the. I'd prefer to see the old stadium renovated if that was possible. If the money's there, if it's possible, I'd prefer to do that to keep it as a it's almost like what's the word? When you look at it should almost be like a listed building, I believe. But I also believe that you've got to move with the times, and if the times mean having to go to a new stadium and that's built on the land which is pretty much beside where Old Trafford is, maybe that is the way forward, and maybe we just all have to kind of get on board with that. I mean, there's probably not a lot we can do if we decide to change, or if they decide to change it and do what they want to do. There's maybe not a lot the fans can actually do. So yeah, but it is looking like they're leaning towards a new stadium, which is going to cost 2 to 3 billion. Where are they going to find that money? It's going to be very interesting because obviously that's expensive. I mean, it'd probably be state of the art, but it'll be expensive, and I can imagine season tickets will go up too. And what does that mean for all those loyal fans that have been sort of season ticket holders for years? It's gonna price them out? Are we going to get more fans that are just kind of in for one day and out for one day? Be really interesting to see where all that investment, how all that investment lies in years to come. But yeah, so ultimately, a new stadium is looking likely, and yeah, that's the way we're going to have to move forward. So new stadium with naming rights being sold to potentially fund it, is my guess. So interesting. But that's where we are with that. The other bit of interesting news that's coming out is that when these naming rights are actually sold, they want it to be called Old Trafford presented by and the name of the company. This is coming out of the Times. So maybe that is the way of a halfway house, where you actually find you still manage to keep Old Trafford, but you build a new Old Trafford and you sell the naming rights and you just get presented by Ineos or whoever the company's going to be. I don't know. And Ineos already have a link to Spurs. I don't know if they could have how they would do that for Manchester United. They'd probably look for another billionaire investor to come in and buy those naming rights. And maybe this is the best way to appease everyone, because you obviously it's very difficult to appease everyone. So maybe this is their way of trying to cover all bases. Whether it'll work or not, I don't know. Whether they can, I'm sure if they can sell it, they'll make a lot of money on the name rights. And yeah, maybe that is the way forward. But I said I prefer a renovated Old Trafford. But I don't think that's going to happen now. So that is the news with that. We're moving on to transfer news. There's news on Marcus Rashford, and there's also, there's the AC Milan, Marcus Rashford sort of circus carries on. It looks like Marcus Rashford is holding out for Barcelona. The Muppeteers have been very sort of they've been bringing this news via their Twitter, and they believe that Marcus Rashford really wants to hold out and go to Barcelona. I was talking about this the other day. Interesting that is his aim. AC Milan were in the running, but we now believe that AC Milan are out because Kyle Walker looks like he is going to be there. They've got a quota on EU players that they can have, and they've only one space left, and which is really interesting. I didn't know about this. And if they take Kyle Walker, then Marcus Rashford cannot join because they haven't got their quota is then full. But it is interesting that they're turning their attention to a 34-year-old right back who's kind of in the last throes of his career, while Rashford should be in the peak of his career. 27, he should be right in the prime of everything. But it looks like AC Milan are actually gonna move their attentions towards Kyle Walker. If you have any thoughts on that, fire them into the comments below. Love to hear from you. Also, guys, if you're enjoying this, just give me a quick like. It'd be really, really appreciated. Give me a subscribe. It would really help the channel grow. Yeah, and swiftly moving on to the next bit of news. And that is we are looking at, so the Express were also talking about the Marcus Rashford and his priorities being Barcelona. They're also coming out with this. So it does look like Barcelona is his favorite place to go. As I said before, I believe it's to do with prestige. I believe it's to do with obviously you've got the possibility of winning the championship in Spain. La Liga is still up for grabs, so he could be involved in a title challenge there. It'd be really interesting to see if he can get into that Barcelona team, because it is littered with some excellent players, and I think he will find it difficult to break in, especially having not played for such a period of time. But yeah, and I've got a bad feeling that how Barcelona going to do this deal? Are they actually going to be able to sell it? Are they going to be able to not so much sell the project to him, but are they going to be able to afford him? As I said before, they've struggled to sign or register players like Dani Almo. How are they going to afford Marcus Rashford? Is it going to be a loan to buy? Is it going to be just a straight up loan to the end of the season? But Marcus Rashford is slowly sort of, he's not playing much these days, obviously, and he hasn't played in the last 8 games now, so that clock's ticking. It's going to be maybe 10 or 11 games by the time we get to the end of the transfer window. It's a lot of football he's missed. Is he going to be sharp enough, to get back? He'll be fresh, but will he be sharp enough to get into that Barcelona team? It all come to pass? I don't know. I'm not really sure. And that is pretty much everything in terms of the news. And obviously the other little bit of news that came out yesterday was the real sad passing of Dennis Law, who was originally known as the King of Old Trafford. He's part of the Trinity with George Best and Sir Bobby Charlton. They've all now passed away. They've all gone. They're all playing their football somewhere else. And they were three legends. Rightly so. They have their statue outside Old Trafford. 3 Ballon d'Or winners in the same team. I don't know if many teams in the world will ever be able to hold that record. But yeah, real sad day that the king has passed away. I never seen him play, but my father used to speak about him all the time, how brilliant he was. He played with a smile, and he was just an absolute brilliant striker who could do unbelievable things. And won plenty of trophies at United, and yeah, will be always a legend. And yeah, he's not here anymore, so yeah, hopefully he's up there with the others, with Sir Matt and George Best and Sir Bobby Charlton doing their thing up there. But R.I.P.